Ready, Nick? Okay. Okay, good morning, welcome everybody to the special RTC meeting today on Wednesday, December 18th. Well, we do have a new council member at the table, just so everybody knows. We have Jeff Wolf here with us today in person, so he is sitting in Robert's seat. Robert is online today, so just so you know, he's not a new council member, but it is our tribal attorney here for the morning. So welcome, Jeff. Thank you for giving up your seat, Robert.
Yeah, good morning. I was just going to mention it's kind of quiet. Is there a volume maybe that can be turned up?
That help? Robert, did that help?
No, I got it. It was me. It was my own stupidity. Sorry.
So, wait a minute, what did Darren say? We're all looking at the screen, but Darren had a comment on there. Hang on, Randy. Randy's in. Can you, is everybody having difficulty hearing this?
I can hear now, but.
Is it better?
Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay, all right, we'll make sure to try to talk really loud. Hello. Good. All right, anyway, thank you for that, Robert. We'll get our meeting started. I will call the meeting to order at 9:08 a.m. And Vern Adams is not here today, so we will be doing a moment of silence, but also we will send out our felt condolences to the family that lost a family member last night, and we want to let them know that our thoughts are with them at this difficult time. So if we could have a moment of silence, please. Language. Okay, next we'll have roll call.
Kathy Chambers.
Here.
Tara Beasley. Here. Shane Drift. Here. Perry Drift.
Sean Moy.
Robert Moore.
Here.
Okay, next we have approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or corrections or changes?
I have two additions to the agenda. Number one is a request from Julie Scopeland, the pharmacist, for approval for the chairwoman to sign a letter for, it's an attestation letter in support of Bois Forte Medicare enrollment application. And
Do you want to put that under you, Miranda?
yes.
Okay.
And then we also have, in addition, David Squidge Morrison. We'd like to add him as a request to share a flyer in Anishinaabe Moen with area hospitals. He's requesting council approval to share the flyer.
Okay, we'll add that under you as well, okay?
Okay.
Any other additions?
No additions.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda with those two additions? Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Next we have approval of the meeting minutes from November 6, 2024.
Regarding the meeting minutes, it says moved by Carol, second by Carol, to approve the agenda with the following addition. Luke Rancho's appointment for tribal representative for ARDC. Who are going to have, fill that?
We are gonna have to,
No, you guys got Perry.
Perry is on that committee.
Okay.
Okay.
And, when we scroll down to the consent agenda on the first page, the second line item B, which is approval of the LTR of the virtual tenant ownership actions for eligible tenants, it has 202. Now, underneath that consent agenda policy that we're talking about, does that need to go, by its own, item for voting? Yeah.
So for the voting rules, under Robert's rules, an item can still be placed under a consent agenda for unanimous approval if there's abstentions. So the only way it would move to the regular agenda would be affirmative opposition. So I assume 202 is 2 favorable and 2 abstentions. That would still be okay.
Okay. That's all I have for meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the November 6th, 2025 meeting minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve. I just want the one nickname in there with the real name, so we can have it correct minutes. It's T. John.
Up in the others present.
Yeah.
Up in the others present, it says T. John, his name is Lawrence Connor Jr., so just switch that to his real name. Okay, motion made by Tara with that correction, and we got a second. Going for a second again on the minutes.
I'll second.
Seconded by Perry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried. I was holding on last time for you, Robert. Okay, next we have the December 4 meeting minutes, but we need to table them as they are not ready. So we have a motion to table the December 4, 2024 meeting minutes. Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Perry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Okay, next we have Chris Holm with 2 items. Resolution 50-2025, adopting revisions of the Bois Forte Conservation Code, the regulation of domestic animals ordinance, and the fine schedule. And his second item is review and approval of construction bids for Bois Forte DNR building. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, everyone.
Hit your button. There you go.
Morning, everyone. So I'm bringing for you to look at a resolution to adopt Bois Forte Conservation Code. The last revisions to the code were done in 2011. Times have changed, pressures from the outside has changed. It's time to reflect the code. So there are a few revisions made. The majority of the content of the code actually carried over to the existing code. I can read the resolution for you, or I can explain the few revisions to the code that we've included.
Could you explain the revisions to the code?
Sure. There are basically 3 main revisions. One is to One included a process or included language that defines DNR conservation process and procedure that wasn't in the original code, which is going to be useful to the courts as time goes by, as they process citations. So, you know, they need standard operating procedures, they need lines of authority to refer back to. So that's one change. The second change we included was a trespass provision. The previous code did not have a trespass provision. And as I mentioned earlier, increased pressures from the outside, asking any of the conservation officers have increased. And we need a trespass provision to address those issues. The plane landing last summer was an issue of that. We didn't have a trespass provision that incorporated that. So that's included. Based on discussions with council, we included language to address planes and landings on that lake. And we included a aquatic invasive species provision that needs to be in place to protect from incoming invasives. We had our mid-level managers meeting with state DNR yesterday, and we talked about AIS, and they're going to see if they can help us get funding or something so we can build wash stations for boats over here. So, let's see, was there, and I think those were the main provisions that we added to the code. As I said, much of the original language carried over. The code should be interpreted just as the previous code as basic management procedure with liberal leaning toward the band membership. Okay. So that's basically it. Included also in your packet is a regulation for domestic animals ordinance, which basically follows the previous animal ordinance, and a updated fine schedule, which includes fines for things like airplanes. So.
Okay, it looks also too, when you mentioned the procedures and citations and that type of thing, I think in the past we run into some issues with getting our citations for domestic animals like dogs, cats, or whatever. We run into issues we've had where they really haven't been able to have been processed through tribal court. This is tightening that up and allowing that process to happen, correct?
That's correct. Jeff and Tony and I worked pretty hard to get that process down. I don't know if Jeff wants to add any comment about the procedure now.
I mean, I think the domestic animal ordinance, the main revisions were what I would call like a cleanup in terms of there was a lot of kind of ambiguous terms and things, so the big substance of the ordinance hasn't really changed a lot for these revisions. And then in terms of citation related stuff on the conservation code end, one revision that Chris mentioned that was important was broadening and strengthening the band's jurisdiction under the conservation code, so that those jurisdictional provisions at the beginning really maximize the band's ability to exercise jurisdiction and sovereignty over any individuals who are, committing conservation violations on the reservation. So strengthening that up so that the band's got, a more documented and written, well-documented and written justification for broad jurisdiction under the conservation code was important, and that was added to these revisions too. So that, the land can assert jurisdiction over members and non-members.
Any questions for Chris on the conservation code or the resolution?
Just to, regarding the airplane, when we bought the airplane, is that my stance is still the same as that when that plane landed on Holm Lake that morning, is that I did try to push the council to confiscate that plane, but because they said there was nothing really written, the language for us to do that, and my argument was that we are sovereign. We should have basically said, yeah, we're gonna confiscate that plane and then we're gonna put it out for bidding, so the people that own the plane have to basically bid out to buy their own plane back to exercise their sovereignty. I just want to point that out. Now, getting into the lake itself, and I've asked for this a few times, just like to get this lake, get our lake listed with aviation, the state of Minnesota, so that you cannot land on our lake, and if they land on our lake, somebody lands on our lake with their plane, they're in violation, clear violation, and they can't use what I didn't know was not listed. So I keep stressing this point that we need to get this lake listed with the state of Minnesota and with any aviation agency. And that's just to protect our lake. But thank you for working on this and good job.
Just to address the communications issue, we are in the process of working up that documentation to get the whatever we're going to call it, notice out, word out that lake is no fly in the land lake. We've talked to the state DNR liaison, who's put us in touch with their communication publications people. And what we're going to try to do is get that information listed in the annual state DNR rules and regulations book, similar to what Mille Lacs does for their lake. And we brought that up again actually yesterday with the state DNR folks, and they're going to try to help us push that forward. So it's in the works.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Chris on the adopting the revisions for the Bois Forte Conservation Code? And this went through the Conservation Committee as well. Okay. Hearing no other questions, do we have a motion to approve Resolution 50-2025, adopting the revisions to the Bois Forte Conservation Codes?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Tara, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, silent, motion carried. Okay, next we have
Real quick question. You have no booklets, or you can have no booklets made, and then disseminate all that information to everybody who can have more reaching education, regarding the seasons and how this affects everybody, especially the animal ordinance. So they know if they get their dog or cat taken away, where is it going, what is it, so they know that we're not destroying like we used to have to, So explain all of that so people know that. We get that rich education on there since it's changed.
Thank you, Tara. Next, we have review and approval of construction rates for Bois Forte DNR building. Welcome, Tara. Good morning. And the floor is yours.
All right, good morning. So we're here to get approval for the DNR building. We did, the bidding documents were sent out, or the advertisement, we got the bids, they were open last Thursday. And the recommendation is to go with Valent Construction. They came in at the lowest. It's beautiful bid score, so. The total for Valent was going to be $4,335,381 for the construction of the DNR building. The other two contractors that bid on it, one was going to be $5,077,000. That's with the same adults that we have for Valent. And then the other one was going to be $12,858,795. Balance total was the $4 million, so that's why we chose them. Also with approving them as the contractor, I do have the contract for approval as well. And with that, we'll need a resolution, and if we can get a resolution number assigned today, that would be perfect, and then we can allocate those funds. Any questions?
Yes, can you share the little information about the warranty thing?
Oh, yes, and so, thanks to Jeff, there is a 10-year option for us to make any claims on the building if something was to happen to it. We have 10 years to do that, so that's a nice, that's never heard of. So that's great news for us, and that building will be pretty much like guaranteed for 10 years.
I think that I've always been pushing for that every time I get into a contract with any of these construction companies, is to see the, how long they extend their warranty, and this is unheard of, 10 years. That is awesome. Good job, thank you.
Harry?
Yes, so 4 million was the bid rate, the one you chose. How confident are you, because I know that number is going to change with the projects, because I've been noticing a pattern with these projects, good work on the project, by the way. But how confident are you that you can have them stick to this bid? Because I notice a pattern, people come in here, they get inside information, they had this much money for this bid, so we can press them more. I think that's what's been happening. So I think I just really want to start a new leaf going into next year. That I know inflation, cost of materials changes the outcome, but we have to really make them stick to this price, because right now we just can't really afford to keep having ballooning projects. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, so there's always a contingency built into that budget. It ranges anywhere from 3 to 5% that we put in our budget, so that there is that extra little cushion in case something like that happens. I can tell you that we do have the money in our budget to cover any additions if that's needed. I'm not going to tell you the amount we have in addition because it's public, but I can share this with you guys before I leave. Also, because we're going to approve it now, my thinking is that we can get a hold of Valent and say, hey, get all your materials now and have them ready for when you start in the spring. That way it's going to save them some money as well. So that's the plan. Hopefully we can do that with Vakewood soon. I'm waiting to hear, but that's another story.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Also, this DNR building falls under our ARPA program, and I want to commend you guys on your great work, because we have until the end of this month to obligate these funds, and I know a lot of work went into getting the bids out and meeting with them and whatever. So right now, this meets the obligations for it by having the resolution and the contract signed before the end of the month, that these funds now can be obligated towards that. And thank you for the contingency, because we do really do that a lot. So I just want to say that thank you to all involved with this building and this process. It's been a long process, but they've done a great job. So any other comments or questions on the bid, Jim?
Yeah, so, regarding past construction projects that happened before I was on council, and then learning the fact after being on council, was that a lot of the projects were shortcuts. And, when we had them to try to go back in and fix some of these projects and find out that there were shortcuts taken, I think that, with the project manager, hopefully there'll be real watchful eye on the process as it plays along with each phase, and say, hey, I think the council, phase 1 was great, phase 2 was great, phase 3 was great, and all that.
Okay, yeah, we did hire, and I don't know if you guys have met again, but we did hire a new project manager. He He is in the audience, it's Jim Bartle, and he's been on top of all of these projects. He meets with me every day. We go over everything, if he has questions, we make sure we try to get those answered, and so definitely, tap into him if you have questions, because he's very knowledgeable about construction. Which we know. And Dave too, Dave Anderson's still on, so definitely get a hold of him. I mean, he knows a lot, he's been here for years, so. Okay.
Great job, and welcome Jimmy John. I know you miss Jimmy John. It's very much, we've been talking about a project manager for all our construction projects, no matter, I think, we sometimes feel that we're taking advantage of when it comes to construction projects, and like you said, Aaron, like making cuts or corners and shade, we find that there's things that weren't done correctly, so we're very confident that we'll have a great project manager, good projects moving along with that eyesight on them, so.
Yeah, well, we know there's ongoing items happening in this building, that have been forever, that we just can't find a solution. I know it probably shouldn't have been built right where it was, but we're here. So maybe that's one up thing that Chris and I used to be the DNR director. Man, that building is old, and we it didn't bother us, it was home, So maybe that's one of the upticks of waiting so long, that now you'll have a really good, efficient building, you'll have a 10-year warranty on it, and it will be, it's built correctly, under the supervision of Jimmy John, so we wish that
I believe that's one of the oldest buildings left here. It's used to be Head Start. I mean, it used to be a lot of programs in there. So kudos to you all. And if there's no other questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve Valiant's bid. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I just want to say, if you're gonna sign a resolution, are we gonna draft up a resolution right away? The resolution number will be 52/2025.
The resolution will be that resolution number, about the standard ARPA resolution that basically approves the contract and then it obligates the ARPA funds to use them once you've seen before.
Thank you, Nikki.
Oh, and then can I just point out, when you're talking, can you kind of talk into the mic? Apparently they're still having issues hearing us.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the Valiant bid for the DNR building in the amount of $4,335,381 and the pending resolution 52-2025 authorizing the funds out of the ARPA project funds?
Move to approve.
Motion made by Tara to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Great job, you guys. Look forward to the construction this spring. Plus it'll bring a lot of jobs too. So that's the other thing we have to look forward to. So make sure you sign up for Carol. Thank you. Have a good day. Keep up the good work, everybody. Next we have donation committee. Miranda, do you want to read the donation committee requests?
All right, there's lots of pages in here.
Yeah, me too.
Scrolling.
I know. Chris had a lot. Okay. Did you find it yet, Miranda? Yes. Okay.
So first from the donations committee is a request for Independent School District 695, Chisholm School District. The amount requested is $1,000. The amount recommended is $500. And this is for several enrolled students at the Chisholm School District. The donation will be used to fund the Indian education program activities such as the Anishinaabe Club, cultural-based learning, and other cultural-based activities.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the ISD 695 Chisholm School District donation in the amount of $500? Move to approve. Moved by Tara, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Perry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
Next is a request from Angeline King. The amount requested was unknown. The amount recommended is $500. And she is asking for a donation from the donation committee for any help. She was a victim of the hurricane.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve $500 to Angeline King for a donation? Excuse me. Move to approve. Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, silent, motion carried.
The next request is from the East Range Academy. The amount requested was $1,600. The amount recommended is $500. The request is for funding. It looks like some items they're asking for is providing drinks and snacks for their APAC members, providing day trip to connect students to the ICWA facility in Duluth, gas and gift support to participate in local educational powwow at Iron Discovery Center, and senior recognition.
Okay, I believe too that it mentions that they were falling short, 2 students for the requirement for Department of Ed for some funding for Indian education. So I think that's for the native students at East Range Academy. We have a motion to approve $500 donation. Move to approve. Moved by Tara, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Carrie, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Okay, next we have, go ahead, I'm not done yet.
Next, we have a request from the St. Louis County Historical Society. They are requesting $500. The amount recommended is $500. They are asking for the request to sponsor this year's Native American Heritage Day at a $500 level. The day will be held on, it's already passed, Saturday, November 23rd.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the $500 for the St. Louis County Historical Society?
Sorry, I just have a question.
Sure.
So they want us to donate money for them to celebrate our day, then we're like, sorry, that's, I'm sorry, that's, never mind.
It says that they were hosting a panel regarding perspectives on Native citizenship in recognition of the 1924 Indian Citizenship Act. In order to make catering activities, honorariums, and other elements returning to our community for support. Any additional funds raised will go towards our Lake Superior Ojibwe Gallery.
Oh, good, okay, there we go.
Okay. Thanks, Gary. No, that's good. Thanks, Gary.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Gary. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tara. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent. Motion carried.
Really quick question on this one. It says, with your support, we would gladly recognize Bois Forte as a sponsor of promotional materials and during the event. So I'm not sure if that happened. Can you double check to make sure that our name is, that Bois Forte is getting on there as sponsoring? Thanks.
Okay, next we have Doris Isham with resolution 51-2025, task orders, SRF for Protect Grant and TTPSF grant. Good morning, Doris.
Good morning. So I have for your consideration a resolution that is approving a service or task order for SRF to do a grant for the Protect grant, a grant application. And there won't be a charge to the reservation for this because they have a grant from the state of Minnesota, Department of Transportation, to provide grant rating services to tribes. And so Bois Forte has taken advantage of that. And the state and SRF are both in agreement with that. And so what the Protect grant is, that's going to be written for the evacuation road. We've talked about this for a couple of years now, about implementing a road project that would develop a second road. And we do have a meeting scheduled in January where it'll be a community meeting, and we will be looking at the different options and trying to narrow it down to one project, and then the grant will be written for that. So, like I said, there's no charge to the reservation for this grant. And so, do you want me to read the resolution?
Yeah, if you'd like.
Okay, so whereas the Bois Forte, I'll skip down to the second whereas.
Yeah.
Whereas the bipartisan infrastructure law establishing and promoting resilient operation for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation Protect program to help make surface transportation more resilient to natural hazards, including climate change, sea level rise, flooding, extreme weather events, and other natural disasters. Through supportive planning activities, resilience improvements, community resilience on evacuation routes, and at-risk coastal infrastructure. And whereas the band has entered into a master agreement with SRF Consulting Group to perform grant writing, planning, and design services for the band, and whereas the band desires to enter into a task order under the master agreement with SRF Consulting Group for SRF to prepare a grant application on behalf of the band for the Protect grant program and to submit the application materials ahead of the grant deadline on February 24th, 2025. And whereas SRF will complete the grant application as part of the contract with Minnesota Department of Transportation that provides grant writing assistance to tribal governments in the state of Minnesota that falls under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And therefore, the band will not be charged for SRF services under the task order. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rtc hereby authorizes and approves task order number 16171.04 with SRF Consulting for preparation of the Protect Grant Program and authorizes RTC Chairman County Chairs to execute said task order on behalf of them. And the judge has reviewed this.
Thank you, Doris. Do we know how much we're applying for yet, or?
We don't, not until we identify the road,
Okay,
the evacuation road, and then do the feasibility study with the cost estimate.
okay, great. Good job. Any questions for Doris?
My question is for Jeff. Any concerns with this regarding tribal sovereignty and any legal issues?
No, the task order is connected back to the master agreement that the band executed with SRF, and that, you know, incorporated all of our standard provisions and the lack of waiver of sovereignty, so no concerns about this.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Gary.
I just have one comment. Thank you, Doris, for your work. I mean, I had a friend come up here one day for a basketball tournament a few years ago. You couldn't believe that we only had one road in and one road out. So like, this will help with, like, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to work very panic, but like forest fires, because we're surrounded by forest, and tornadoes, anything, you know, having a second road, I think that's, to be able, if we ever had to evacuate, if we ever had to, you know, that would help, so, good work, Doris.
I'm hoping that, one more comment. I'm hoping with the second route, you know, that it would help us get more conservation officers and get more police officers, because we need that for them to have those extra entries.
It will provide another area for building homes or building businesses, more infrastructure like water and sewer.
Oh, that's good. Okay, any questions?
Great comments and questions. Do we have a motion to approve resolution 51-2025, the task orders for the SRF Protect Grant?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Perry, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. You have another resolution for the TTPSF grant as well.
Yes. So this task order is, again, for SRF to prepare the grant application for TTPSF, and what that stands for is Tribal Transportation Program Safety Fund. And I will read the resolution again. Whereas the bipartisan infrastructure law as enacted by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, 4% of the available tribal transportation program funds are set aside to address transportation safety issues identified by federally recognized NUTRAMs through a competitive discretionary program for projects that will reduce fatal and serious injuries and transportation-related incidents, such as vehicle crashes. And whereas the band has entered into a master agreement with SRF Consulting Group to perform grant writing, planning, and design services for the band, and whereas the band desires to enter into a task order under the master agreement with SRF Consulting for SRF to prepare a grant application on behalf of the band for the TTPS program. And whereas SRF will complete the grant application as part of a contract with the Minnesota Department of Transportation that provides grant writing assistance for tribal governments within the state of Minnesota that fall under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and therefore the band will not be charged for SRF service under this task force. So the TTPS project is, well, I'll back up a little bit. We've had a team that has been talking about the different safety issues on the reservation. SRF came up and they surveyed community members at 2 powwows, one at Lake and one in Vermilion. And then we sent out a questionnaire over the website for people to respond to identify areas of concern that the community has and provide safety. You know, that our safety problem might. We identified we have to we did by the council recently and have to try area. Not be because as you know, when you're coming to Pine View, there's a slope that cars come over the slope, and then people are parked on the sides of the road, and that's where you see these strange vehicles that get from, you know, onto the bus there. And so we talked about ways that that road can be made safe. Some of the other issues that we went into other areas, we talked about one where systems, you know, those roads are, some of them are impassable and could pose an issue for if there was an accident or a fire or anything of that nature. Another area that we talked about was the turn lanes on the road leading into Vermilion, because right now there's really no turn lanes. There's a very short, high shoulder that people pull off and before they turn off. And so that's an area of concern that we will be looking at more closely and discussing that issue with Whitelands County. So anyway, that's what the TTPSF grant will be written for, and that is due on January 50th. And so I have this resolution for your consideration.
Okay, Nikki, will that be resolution number 52-20 to 53-2025? Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions for Doris? Okay, there are none. So do we have a motion to approve resolution 53-2025 with regards to a task order for the TTPSF grant?
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Oh, seconded.
By Robert.
Seconded by Perry. In favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thank you, Doris. Keep up the good work. Next, we have Kim Greiner with the 105 approved 105L leases for Family Health ICWA and, oh, there she is, and Judicial PD Telecommunication Hut. Morning, Kim.
Morning. As you know, for quite some time, a group of people have been working on the 105Ls. Most of the health that they approved the first round have been done. And we've already renewed the leases for even in 2025. The BIA, when the demand for these dollars, they only had like one person working on these, one or two in Washington, DC. They've hired people, so ours is starting, the BIA sites are starting to come through now. And there was several leases that they had sent us about 2 weeks ago. And 2 of them were ready for signature. The other ones, they had the wrong description of program services, functions, and activities in them. So they've been sent back for corrections.
Okay.
So the 2 that are authorized right now, that are ready to be authorized, is out at the the judicial area compound. And this is a prorated year for 2023 because we put our notice of intent to apply for it in November of 22.
Okay.
So it's from November of 22 through the end of the year, or 20. That's fiscal year 23, and that's 172,431.50. And then the other one is the BIA portion, which would be the ICWA area of the Family Health Services Building. That is the portion, so the Family Services Building is a shared building, so part of it's funded by IHS based on square footage and part is from BIA, so the IHS part had already come through. So I'm looking for the number of the BIA, or the
43,704.96.
Oh, there it is, yeah. So those are the two, so we've been moving through.
This has been a extremely long and tedious process for us, but in the long run, it will save money for the programs to use in areas for services rather than paying electricity and those types of bills, because the 105L is used for maintenance. And so what Kim is talking about is we are very proactive, or Bois Forte was very proactive with going after the 105L lease money. And when she said that we did it in 22, we did do it in 22, and that's just the Bureau is now just catching up with those 105L leases. So these two programs are just getting money for 22 and 23. And,
That was our fiscal year 23, so just 23.
Just 23, fiscal year 23. So we're on fiscal year 25 right now. So there's still work they have to do, but this is the start to finally getting those finalized. So I just want to say a lot of work goes into this. Randy and Kim and others have been running around measuring buildings and trying to get as much benefit from the 105L lease program as we can, because it does help improve funding for program services rather than paying the maintenance costs. So kudos for the staff for doing that. Do we have any questions or comments on the 105L leases that were presented?
I just want to say, so this is this part, so then next what will come is then they'll send us an amendment for our multi-year funding agreement to add these leases, because I think the other amendment they had to, I think they have to do it specific by building by building.
Okay.
Then they will reprogram the dollars within the BIA. So it's just a long process before the money gets here. So like our first BIA building was approved in August, and the money just became available. So there's their processes they have to get through yet too. So it's coming.
Good.
The question I had was, I brought this up before with Jeff and the rest of the council when we were upstairs about the 105L money. And I didn't know it's a law that with the Trump administration coming in, that there's a concern that they could somehow not honor this or whatever. And Jeff, you want to share the point that you brought up regarding allocations?
Yeah, I think lots of tribes are thinking about potential changes in new administration. I think for 105L specifically, there's a couple of ways that could be impacted by the administration. I mean, there could be a change to the actual law. The reason why the federal government provides this money is, there's a federal statute that's passed that says you have to do this. This is a right of tribes if they request it. That could always change. I think that's probably less likely, but the other piece is there's got to be money to give, and that's through a congressional budget that's passed, right? So I think these leases could be impacted if effectively the program's not funded by Congress. And so we'll have to just see, over the next administration if it's impacted at all. It may not be, but I think you know, it's important for Bois Forte to also continue to remind congressional leaders of the importance of the funding so that it, you know, continues as well.
Well, along the lines, I know that when Trump was in office before, that the Minnesota Attorney General and the rest of the Attorney Generals from the other states did happen to stop a lot of his actions that he was taking. Could this be something that they could stop?
I don't think states are in a position to stop this funding stream. This is really all purely federal, in the sense that the law is federal and the funding is federal. And so I really think changes are going to have to come from Congress or, you know, the executive branch. And again, hopefully it won't be impacted, but it's something to definitely be thinking about and watching.
That's what I was thinking of, something as we as a tribe, we need to take a look at that, because rather than wait for it. Excuse me. To prepare for any eventualities, because if they do stop appropriations, how does that affect us and what can we do to minimize the impact? Thank you. I gotta take this call.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Shane. Any other comments on 105L leasing for Kim? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the 105L leases for Family Health ICWA and Judicial PD Telecommunication Hut. Move to approve. Moved by Tara. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I was waiting for you, Robert. Seconded by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, silent, motion carried. Sorry, Robert, I'm trying to remember to hang in there for you. Okay, thank you, Kim. Good job. Good job, everybody. Next, we have Mr. Travis Vake with the Boys and Girls Club Finances, and it looks like Santa's in the house with Rudolph. He's very festive today. Morning, Travis.
Morning.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning. I don't have to push any fancy buttons
No.
here, do I?
No, you're good.
Good morning. First of all, thanks for having me, and happy holidays to everybody. I was asked by Miranda to come and discuss funding with you guys, and it was brought up about our funds potentially being on hold. And so we did have a great meeting last week. Thank you to all of you that were able to be there. I thought that went really well. And I'll just, kind of hit some highlights on the sheet that I provided to you all. The answer is yes. We are currently on a funding hold through PGCA. PGCA is a federal program, and they require your audits to be up to date in order to release funds to clubs. We are part of the Native Services branch of the PGCA, and so currently our audits are not up to date, and so that is why our funds are being withheld. So due to that, currently 100% of our funds at the Boys and Girls Clubs here in Bois Forte are 100% being funded by the Tribal Council at this time. Now, typically, the majority of the funding does come from the Tribal Council. The amount of grants that we get typically covers anywhere from 5 to 15%, I would say, of our annual budget. sometimes more, it just depends on what grants are out there and what pass-through grants we're able to get. And then if you look at about the mid-page, you can see a list of grants that we have gotten in the past that we are not currently able to get or apply for. And those would be the Trails Grant, the OJJDP grant, Minnesota D grant, which is a grant that we get from the state legislature through our Minnesota Alliance membership. Also grants that we typically see from BGCA through a pass-through would be the Northwest Area Foundation, Gary Wendt, Summer Meals, the Red Nose Grant Program, Native Endowment, the Walmart Food Grant, Dale Larson Stewardship, and more. So what I've done since we've been in conversation since we've been on the funding hold with Tim, who's our DOD from the Native Services, the council, Kim, Luke when he was here. And so what I've been doing is contacting local granting agencies just to see if we would be able to submit grants for them. It does sound like we would be able to apply through the Northland Foundation. They're currently not in a granting cycle at this time, but in 25 we will be able to move through that. Same with the Blinded Foundation, they're currently not granting until 2025, but it sounds like we would be able to submit a grant there. And then the United Way, they typically take some small grant applications around April each year. And so we would be able to apply there. And then there are some possible state grants that we may be able to tap into. We did get one over the summer, the past 2 summers that I applied for. It was through the state of Minnesota. We were able to get that and those funds that covered most of our summer programming. So that was good. And then on the bottom of the page, before I open up for questions, we've asked this question, Tim has asked it, I've asked it. And we're just wondering if there is a way for the BGC portion of the audit to be not necessarily completed, but to be worked on to the point where it would be ready to submit with the package. So then we could say to BGCA, hey, everything's counted, everything's here. It's just not fully submitted, and we're hoping that maybe that might release our hold on funds. I know typically the answer to that has been no when we've asked that question. And so we're just looking for different opportunities and ways in which we can release that hold, because the grant money can be substantial. Just depends on the granting year.
Kim?
I came up because you started to ask the question about the audit of the, just the Boys and Girls Club. So like 2 years ago, you had asked the question, and I was on a call with someone that's higher up than Tim. And because it's federal funds, they said it has to be part of the single audit, and we couldn't do a separate audit. But listening to what Travis was saying, if we could maybe do some kind of agreed upon procedures, we might be able to.
Yeah.
If that's, we have to get higher up in there.
Right, yeah, it would have to be, obviously, BGCA compliance would have to approve it, but I'm hopeful that maybe if we get that procedure in place to say, okay, that part of the tribal audit has been completed, it just won't be submitted until the full audit is submitted. Like, I'm hopeful that that may release some funding, because right now, there are some grants, on your sheet, the Minnesota D grant is a grant where, you can be reimbursed a calendar year behind.
Okay.
And so right now that grant, if the 23 audit, might get completed soon, potentially we could look at funds back a year and those may be able to be recovered. Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't be until we're fully caught up.
Okay. I'm wondering, Travis, if that's something that maybe yourself, Tim, Miranda, and Kim, Miranda being our interim executive director, and the council could work with Boys and Girls Club about that process or procedure that Kim was talking about, as long as, the data's there, but it's just not included in the audit. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, the data is really what they want. And if we can provide that data maybe unofficially, at least they know that it's there. And so maybe we can come to some kind of agreement. I mean, we'd have to meet with him and Carla, and compliance, but worth a shot, I think, if we can make it work.
My question is, well, first off, it wasn't Miranda that put you on the agenda and requested it. The reason why I requested it because some bad members were asking about it on my group page.
Okay.
Now, going off the information of what you said and what Kim just shared, until that process is actually approved or not approved, does the tribe have the money to continue funding the Boys and Girls Club until we either get this process approved or until we get the audits caught up?
That's a Kim question. Kim? Go ahead, Kim.
Historically, we have had the money. It's out of Fortune Bay distributions. And the two ones that, the two main ones that were due were the OJP ones that they were each $20,000.
Correct, yeah.
So, and like Travis said, a majority of the Boys and Girls Club has historically been paid out of Fortune Bay distribution. So, and we will, our deadline for our budgets are December 31st to do it, and then I can have a more firm answer for you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, there's a couple questions online.
Kim, can you just stay up here, please?
Yeah, don't go.
So it says the funding is on hold because audits aren't being performed. And then it says, so we're losing grants because our audits aren't up to date. Can we somehow hire an outside firm to get us up to date on audits?
Do you want to answer, Tara, or do you want me to?
I will.
Okay.
We have already allowed Kim to have two auditing firms to help. So adding another one will not help us. So do you want to continue that conversation, Kim? Go ahead.
Yes, we are working. It's not that they're not being performed. We're behind. We've been working on them all along, but because of staffing and increased workloads and other challenges, we are now getting back on track. Our current firm is Shepherd Docton Cantor, SDK, it's easier to say. They are starting to do field work today on the 22 audit. We've uploaded a lot of documents this week. We've uploaded a lot of documents and going from there. And one of the solutions is we added a comptroller position over the past year. And that is Vanessa Little, and she is heading up the audit stuff while I work on other stuff to get our whole bunch of backlog. And then we've, staffing, we're getting staff back and positions filled. So we're getting there. And then we have Whipley that helps us do the the backlog work, and Vanessa has regular meetings with them on Wednesday mornings to give them tasks that we aren't able to accomplish and help get the schedules ready. And part of the whole problem is too is that our software system is so outdated, it's very manual. And we're also doing a software transition, and that doesn't solve the problem of the past 2 audits right now. It's a solution for moving forward.
Nikki?
There's another question online. When will they be up to date?
So the SDK started now for this. Their goal is to have the 22 done by March of 23, and then complete the 23 audit.
March of 25.
March of 25. I got too many dates, too many years. March of 25 with the 22 audit, and then in the rest of 25 to finish the 23 audit. Then starting in the calendar year of 26, it will be the 24 audit and the 25 audit. And that will put us completely caught up. The problem is you can't start a future audit until the previous one is finished. Because they have to roll over, we have to roll over our funds, and also in what's called their caseware of the auditors, they have to be able to roll over their funds too. And they have schedules, so it's going much better than it had been, so I'm hoping it continues with good progress.
I have another question. 3 years behind, what was tribal council doing while they fell behind in their audits?
The audit issue has been there for a few years now, especially with the pandemic happening. The other thing that happened is that we lost some very key staff with program accountants and accounts payable. Staff that had been here for years. Some retired, some resigned, and some just didn't want to work. So filling those positions, accounting, the council was meeting with Kim and figuring, asking what can we do to help you? And so it was bringing in the audit firm. So the council has been working on this, but we just can't wave a magic wand and say our audits are done. It's been staffing issues. It's been other information that's needed, like the 105L leasing, which Kim does. It's contract support costs, which Kim does, which she's working on other things. So it's been a tedious process for the council as well, because we've been on top of this, but it's just that there's just so much that can be done by staff and whatever. So we've been on it, but hopefully we'll get going.
Just to add on to that is that, we did talk about trying to get the 4 audits done in a year, but it was going to be costly, and that we're going to look into it. So hopefully we can have some answers, in the next couple of weeks, and get this all wrapped up and taken care of and get back on track.
And I'd like to say that we started to slide with workloads just prior to the pandemic, or, a little bit before the pandemic because of the retirements and people moving on. And then we also, one of the challenges is when you switch auditors, there's a lot of extra work. And we switched from RSM to SDK. And their first week on site to do their very first audit for us was the week the pandemic was declared. And everyone got pushed home, and they didn't have means to set up to be remotely audited, So there was a learning curve, and we're recovering.
Any other questions or comments for Kim or Travis or council?
Yeah, I just want to say, as my 6-month mark happens, I like that comment of, what was council doing before, the past years. And I'll just say it right now, my priorities when I first came in here, I just want to let the public know that I analyzed, like, when I first started getting all these updates and everything, and I started analyzing our biggest issues. And so I was like, what am I gonna do the first year? Because then I was like, well, audits, cannabis, and I just set up our CEO for Fortune Bay with Leech Lake's gaming lawyer and director of slot operations. So the bread and butter, Fortune Bay, cannabis, our audits, them were the three things that I really have been just pushing for in private. And so that's, if people ask, why isn't Perry pushing for projects or doing this? Because I'm focusing on the three main things that are going to help this tribe and its people and its programs.
Thank you, Perry. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, yes, this was a big problem before probably, a majority of us got on. Robert and I served the same term. So I know that, you're feeling the pressure, and I know you guys are working hard. I always think of that like the water, and then the ducks and paddling as fast as they can. But for myself, I just, that's why I'm down in your office, talking, trying to get this going, trying to make sure things go smoothly. And this new software isn't going to be a miracle, but at least we're not going to be in the Stone Ages with that software AS400 that we have now. I've made comments before about AS400. I don't even dare bring it up to anybody else because it's such an old program. So I'm glad we're moving forward. It is very slow. I'm trying to be patient, I'm trying very hard to be patient. And I hope you don't anybody takes it too harshly when I push and push and push. But I'm thinking of our organization. And then let's take a look at other, other programs that are being impeded also besides the BGC, or are we gonna take them one at a time if this is happening to other programs like it's happening to BGC? Because otherwise if it is, then we're gonna be doing this and, over and over and over, each director coming. So let's take a look at this whole comprehensively, because I don't like the idea that we can't go after this grant or that grant because we're behind, And then I see other reservations in the state, moving forward and catching up from the pandemic, and we aren't. So that's concerning to me. Again, I have good patience, but it is wearing thin. Everybody knows that. I've been a little impatient recently. So please know, Bois Forte, that we are working on this internally, and we have your best interests at heart. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Tara. Any other comments? Oops, Vicki?
Another question online. What methods has accounting and the council worked on to remain on task when these audits become current?
You say that again?
I think I'm thinking they're referring to procedures and what are we going to do to prevent it from the future?
Be current?
Once we get current, wasn't that?
Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah. So like the software is the biggest thing. So a lot of the schedules, supporting schedules and details, we have to do, we have to download it and manually do it. In the new softwares, there is, you just run a report and it does it. So we don't have to sit and reconcile by hand and stuff like that. There's a lot of tasks that become automated that we're doing manually that frees up more time for people to work on stuff. So like, we get most of our payments electronically. And so right now someone has to take the bank statement and write a journal voucher to record those. In the new software, we can have that daily loaded into the software. And then you just, it talks to the bank, you get all your banking information, and then you just click to where, direct it to where it goes, versus getting the bank statement, researching, finding it, having someone enter it, post it, stuff like that. So it frees up more, the biggest thing is it frees up more time. We're also going to be changing procedures for more efficiency on certain things so that it's not so manual, and I think of that, like the program directors and program managers will see it. There'll be people who have real-time access. So if you're a budget manager, instead of calling us to get a printout, they can go in and they'll have limited rights to their programs. The tribal council will have access to run what they want, when they want. So it's a big change, and I don't know, I know the public probably hasn't heard it, but I've talked to like senior management. We're jumping 30 years of technology. So it's a big change.
Yeah, and I think that once that system gets in place, I think that the components of the new software system has a lot of automated or integrated systems within it that you're doing manually, like you said now, or it won't be done that way. And so I think that once that system gets in, which it's going to take time, because there is training that has to be followed with that system for the staff. So it is going to take time, but I think once that gets in, that will help tremendously for the accounting department as far as not having to do paper things or manual things or whatever. So I think it'll be a great benefit for the audits as well.
I just want to add, I think I like that question. Like when we do get up to date, what are we going to do? I think right now we need to start discussing and implementing meetings with our accounting diligently once a month, once every 2 months. We like actually go down there and actually meet them, and not to intimidate them or scare them, but to say, hey, this happened before. We're just here to just track and just hear you guys out. Any way that you need help or direction, just let us know, or assistance in any way. That's all.
Big question. Any other comments?
Does the Boys and Girls Club qualify or receive 105L monies?
Not specifically for the Boys and Girls Club themselves, because they're not a program, function, service, or activity of the BIA or IHS. But in the building in Vermilion, we were able to get most of or partial part of the fitness center, but the Boys and Girls Club area did not get BIA fund, their portion, because it's not a PFSA, it's what it's called. But the majority of the building got 105L, which historically IHS third-party revenue was paying for the maintenance cost of that building. So now we have 105L. If I can't remember off the top, it's a pretty good chunk of money to, and that building is expensive to heat because it has in-floor heat, stuff like that. And then the club up here is not tied to another, because it's in the school and they lease the space. It's another thing. We've been looking for ways, and one way we have to have a conversation eventually with Travis is how much mental health services they might be providing there. Because I think they have a person that works with that. And so we could get a small part of it, a small amount of money, but we have to work on that. We went for the big ones, and we have, for 105L, we have 5 appraisals in process right now, and then we have a list of other ones we're gonna do, so we're always assessing that.
Nikki, another question?
Just a comment. Staffing problems and technology shouldn't be allowed to become so outdated or inefficient that audits become outdated. This identifies a greater problem in the accounting systems.
I do want to say that, and I don't know how anybody will take this, but with the CARES Act and ARPA, it did allow us, because these systems are very expensive. I think that this is over $500,000 just for this software system for accounting and HR, and trying to get ourselves modernized within the organization, because we're looking at HR, talking with the software and all this. So yeah, but we were fortunate that we got that paid for out of our dollars that we received. Otherwise, we'd be also looking for funding for that. So, but we are very fortunate for that. So I just want to say that.
And this is to a conversation that we had on Monday morning, and Tara brought up, is like, as an organization, like when we apply for grants, everything's data driven now. Not only accounting, you know, and this will be big because the way we preliminary designing it, we can really drill down to certain areas. But the other part, we need to find a way to collect data about like services and activities. So like to apply for grants, so they have more information with them readily available. So we got a lot more to do once we get past, you know, as an organization, to get some more data and information together too.
Thank you, Kim. Any other questions or comments?
Just another short comment. We're kind of dragging this out, aren't we? But in all seriousness, it's, I've been trying to bring us, you know, into a newer age, emphasis on data. That's why I keep bringing that up. And then succession planning, you know, bringing this new software in is sort of a succession planning because it's getting rid of the old, you know. So yes, it's slow. Oh my goodness, it's, again, my patience, but I'm trying to bring us into a new era and enough of the old ways of doing things all the time. So hopefully this helps the organization move forward, and accessibility to real-time data, real-time funding, real-time management of our accounting system. Because I'd like to look to see where we are exactly every single day, and checking, rather than coming to you and having to ask you all the time.
Yeah, and
that's one of my goals.
Yep, that's what the new system will be, and you can drill down to, you can even look at the invoices attached to a transaction, because it will be a paperless system. So when we get invoices, they'll be scanned to the transaction, you know, so like if you had a question about something, you can drill down, and a program manager can drill down. Sue just brought me a note, because you asked about the Vermilion Fitness Center funds for, it looks like so far we received $444,635 for 105L for the Vermilion Fitness Fund. So.
Okay. Which, thank you, Kim.
Yep.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, since you're so festive today.
Thank you. Same to you all.
Yes, happy safe travels. Keep up the good work. Okay, next we have Shane Drift.
Yes, I think it was at the previous Minnesota Chippewa Tribal Executive Committee meeting where they, I think it was White or Leech Lake, I don't know which one of the two, that moved including red lake blood for their enrollment. And, you know, the two reservations doing that, and I'm listening to how they did it, because how the Constitution reads, that it doesn't necessarily say Minnesota Chippewa Tribe blood, it just says Minnesota blood. And after that meeting was over, you know, I suggested to the council that maybe we should start looking at that. And then at this previous, just this last one, listening to it, you know, and that, looking on Facebook too, that White is moving forward on it. And I know that they want to have a vote next January in regard to that. So that's why I sent that email, is that maybe we should get this on the table for discussion, see if this is which way we want to go. And asking the simple questions of how many band members would be impacted if we did include Red Lake White. So I just want to just open up the discussion.
Thank you, Shane, for bringing that up because it was at last week's TEC meeting, or Tribal Executive Committee meeting, that Leech Lake, and then we found out that White Earth also passed their own resolutions interpreting Red Lake blood to be included in the definition of Minnesota Chippewa tribe, Minnesota Chippewa Indian blood in the MCT Constitution. At that meeting, the tribes were, each of the 6 bands were asked about including Red Lake blood in for their enrollment. And there will be a vote at the TEC meeting on January 27th or 28th, end of January anyway, where this will be brought back forward. But a lot of the tribes wanted to bring this information back to our tribal members for their input, and that Bois Forte was one of them. And what the resolution is saying is that in the Constitution, it says that the existing Minnesota Chippewa tribe enrollment ordinance limits the consideration of the degree of Minnesota Chippewa Indian blood for enrollment eligibility to the 6 bands. But nothing, it's limited, it says the Leech Lake RBC finds that limiting the definition of the term Minnesota Chippewa Indian blood to include only the degree of Minnesota Chippewa tribe Indian blood is not consistent with the Constitution. So by adding the word tribe in there, it limits to the 6 bands. By just saying Minnesota Chippewa Indian blood, it doesn't say that Red Lake has to be excluded in that statement. So what they want to do, the Leech Lake and White Earth bands have already adopted resolutions that they would like to include the Red Lake Nation blood in consideration for enrollment in the MCT as a member of Leech Lake. I did talk with Farron Jackson a little bit about it, and Lenny Feinday, Secretary Treasurer. Red Lake did implement where they went back twice in their roles to do full bloods for their enrollment. That would not be included. What they're going to do is they are going to go with the original blood quantums before they put everybody full. And that's what they're going to use as documentation for the enrollment. If, like, say, if someone was a half and then they made that person a full blood, they're only going to go back if Leech Lake gets their resolution passed by TEC, they're only going to go back and look at that half that was originally recorded. They're not going to look at the full blood. So that's how, and this does also mean that Red Lake has to be able to, give us the information. And Leech Lake discussed including Red Lake Nation blood in enrollment eligibility criteria with representatives of the Red Lake Nations. And Red Lake Nation has agreed to provide the enrollment data and documents to Leech Lake for the purpose of including for eligibility determinations. And they're, it's very confidential, their data, but we here at Bois Forte want to find out from our tribally enrolled members if you want us to include Red Lake Chippewa blood towards enrollment. And so we're in the process of trying to figure out what process we're going to use for that to hear from the band members. So we're going to be working diligently on that because we need to have it done by the end of January. So if you have any questions, you can contact any of the tribal council members or whatever, but we will try to get some information out as soon as possible because this is something that's a baby step. Because right now we do have, a lot of people don't understand, but we just can't change our blood quantum. We're bound by the Constitution of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. And there's going to be an opt-in and opt-out clause possibly submitted for this. So we have a couple tribes that will not take transfers to bands, and that's Mille Lacs and Fond du Lac. They won't take, if somebody's eligible for, in Bois Forte for enrollment in Fond du Lac, they aren't taking that band transfer anymore. And that is a violation of the Constitution. But that's their determination as a sovereign nation. So it is very complicated. There is a letter at the BIA right now for Resolution 3215. We've requested a secretarial election. The BIA is holding that up. We requested it last year, and that's to include all Ojibwe blood. But we just can't do that. We have to go through processes. So right now, this way is a way of going around that process of a secretarial election because it's a matter of interpretation of Minnesota Chippewa Indian blood. Because Red Lake is Minnesota Chippewa Indian blood. But that's up to the band membership to decide. I think we're all in agreement that we need to hear from our band members on if they want to do that. What the impact will be, I do not know. So I hope I haven't confused everybody, but it's confusing. So that's kind of in a nutshell.
No, regarding the Constitution and reading what it says, but namely what it doesn't say, that's the loophole. It's just like the federal government and the state governments. What the federal government says or doesn't say, the state government can write a law. That's how that works. And it's the same thing with the MCT Constitution. What does it say? What doesn't it say? And that's what we as a tribe should be able to do. And we were a tribe well before we were part of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. And I've always been one for us to be more sovereign. The MCT basically hinders our sovereignty as a tribal nation. And I think that we need to, like Kathy said, take baby steps with this and put questions on the table. Is just, are we going to get an influx of band members that could be enrolled, or are we just going to get a couple?
Yeah.
And take these steps small and carefully and weigh the pros and cons, but continue to try and move forward in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Any other comment? Nope. Nikki.
A couple online. First one, I think before we allow other blood, we should decrease blood quantum for enrollment. And then the council needs to get involved in amending the MCT Constitution. Our delegates for the reform haven't been very active in our community.
Thank you for that, whoever put that. I was going to make a plug here. Right now, there is constitution reform going on, and each of the bands has representatives. Right now, we have one representative that has expressed interest, but he's new, and our only other representative that we had has some health issues, so she withdrew from the committee. So right now, Bois Forte needs people on the Constitution Reform Committee. And if changes want to be made, they hold monthly meetings, and you can go on Fond du Lac's Constitution Reform website. They put updates on there for everybody to see. And so if people are interested in being on the Constitution Reform Committee, I encourage you all please to get active. And it can be anywhere in the United States or in the state of Minnesota. They do Zoom meetings, I believe. And then the council does help with travel and rooms for those Constitution Reform delegates. Because the Constitution wasn't made by us, it was made by non-Indians and BIA officials, and it doesn't address our needs, and that's what we're bound by right now. So it is very difficult. We cannot change blood quantum as a tribe, even though we are sovereign nations, because of the Constitution. A lot of people, I think, need education on the MCT Constitution, because even though we say we're sovereign nations, we are limited on that sovereignty with regards to when it comes to blood quantum and things involving the Constitution. So it's a big educational, it's a huge educational thing. I wish the council had the ability to do what we wanted with regards to enrollment, because I do think that the tribes need to decide their own enrollment criteria, because we're all sovereign nations, but we don't have that ability. We can't, according to the MCT Constitution. So thank you for those comments. And any other comments or questions on that?
Yeah, I believe when I first, I'm still reading the constitutions and the guidelines and the laws. but I think I had heard it somewhere before that it was a possibility for us to pull away from the MCT, but I know that, I'm not saying we're doing that, I'm not speaking for the tribal council. I would, because I've been talking with other tribal leaders, and that's what they've said, the same thing. That, I won't say their names or their, but they said that the MCT hinders us over here, and we have to listen to all these rules. And I was like, well, from what I was told, I was like, we could transfer out if we wanted to, but you know, I'm new here, so, and I feel like my generation is going to be the one where we're actually gonna. I'm sorry. MCT, there's too many limitations. I don't like it. My uncle's the president, but I just don't. I don't like it. I'm sorry. That's all.
That's okay, Perry, because it is a document that the tribes really don't agree with. But the MCT, when people say there's 11 tribes in Minnesota, that's wrong. There's 12 tribes in Minnesota. The Minnesota Chippewa tribe is a tribe. And that's how the bands are listed in the Federal Register. So if you eliminate the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, you will eliminate us out of the Federal Register. We are under the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, the 6 bands are, as sovereign nations. However, right now in the Federal Register, we're not listed individually. We're listed as the Minnesota Chippewa tribe as a tribe. So what that means is that when any funding comes down, if they fund the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, we have to split that with the other bands. However, we've been educating legislators on the federal side about the Minnesota Chippewa tribe being those 6 independent sovereign nations. And so what that means is that we need to be listed individually. Bois Forte, Minnesota Chippewa tribe. White Earth, Minnesota Chippewa tribe. We're not listed like that. So right now, that doesn't exist. They say there's 574 tribes in the United States. There's 580 tribes in the United States because those 6 bands need to be included in that under the MCT. We're only under there as 1 with the 574. So it's very complicated. If people have a chance, please get a copy of the Constitution and read it, because it was a document not made for us, but how do we change it? And I agree with Perry, you know, it's gonna take a while, but I'm hoping, we've been talking constitution reform at the MCT for many years and enrollment for over 30. And it's time to get those things on the table and let's get them taken care of, but it's having 6 tribes agree to something is not even easy. So it is a learning experience, but I agree with Perry, it does hinder the bands from exercising their authority at times. So yes, I could talk about this forever, but oh my God. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, this is a question. Where do we go to sign up?
Oh, good, thank you. All it requires for anybody that's a band member that wants to sit on the, what? Oh, sorry, I turned my mic off. I'll get closer too. Anybody that wants to, has interest in being on the Constitution Reform Committee, all you have to do is write a letter to the Tribal Council expressing that you would like to be on the Constitution Reform Committee. And then once that happens, you'll be on the committee. We don't appoint anybody because they change all the time. And so, but we will get you in contact with the Constitution Reform members from other bands to know about meetings, dates, and those types of things. So all you really need to do is express in a letter your interest in serving on the Bois Forte Constitution Reform Committee. Thank you. Miigwech. Okay. All right, moving on. Miranda Lilia. Oh.
Move on to Julie Scobland.
We lost Miranda. Okay. Next we have Julie Scobland, and what it is, it's an attestation letter in support of Bois Forte Band of Chippewa's Medicare enrollment application. And that it's saying that we'll be legally and financially responsible in the event that there is any outstanding debt owed to CMS, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services. This letter is being provided in support of the band's Medicare enrollment application for durable medical equipment, prosthetics, orthotics, and supplies. So that's just needed for the, Jeff, you want to take that over?
Yeah, I can explain a little bit in Miranda's absence. It's just that this letter, I believe, was one of many just required components of this CMS application to be able to bill for this equipment. This attestation letter in this form was what was recommended by CMS. It does, say that the band will be legally responsible for debt owed to CMS. However, it's not legally problematic from my perspective. It still gives the band the right to contest debt, if it's not legitimate.
Right.
It still gives the band rights to dispute debt, doesn't waive immunity. And frankly, I think like CMS would require debt payback regardless of whether this letter existed or not. So I don't really think it impacts much, but it is an application requirement.
Okay. Any questions for Jeff? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the signing of the attestation letter for the Medicare application for durable medical equipment, et cetera, for CMS? Oops, sorry, I didn't have my mic on. Do you have a motion to approve letter of attestation? Move to approve. Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Next, we have David Morrison Jr. with a flyer. Good morning, David.
Morning.
AKA Squidge. Go ahead, Dave.
Indonesian, Niwibagan, Nimane Dam, Nungam, that's based in Disney's, Nigabi in Disney's. Morning, my name is Dave Morrison Jr., Switch. So what I have here is a project that we did. This is a stroke awareness messaging campaign in Ojibwe Moen. So what I'm looking for is the state would like approval to share this internally with what we did. So we did have a World Stroke Day on October 29th. We had an educational, we had a walk, and we made this made up in this draft to you guys. So they also want to share this with some of the hospitals. And so I wonder if you guys are okay with them using the logo or without the logo. So on our World Stroke Day, we had prevention talks. We had like managing your high blood pressure, controlling your cholesterol, reducing blood sugar, being active, eating healthier, losing weight, stop smoking, limiting alcohol. We had some of the programs there talking about the DASH diet. We had the pharmacy there talking about the medications, the importance of taking medications. So they did give us money. We were able to buy some shirts. We're getting some magnets made up. I have some big posters made up as well. So we win, stroke, don't wait for it. Be tuned, or Gigu, don't be tuned, wait for it. Anapanewin, the symptoms. Sorry, I'm running ahead, going ahead there. So wait, weep, so hurry up. Kanawa Van, you can watch for Anapanewin, that symptoms. So balance loss is Giwashki, Ya Van Dam. So that means like he or she is dizzy. Eyesight changes. Bigiza Winan, means you have blurry vision. Facial drooping, Bimadu Nishka. It start to have a crooked face and mouth. Ishki Wagizi, that means arm weaknesses, it translates to tired muscles. Gawino Gashkitun, Si Ni, Wiwini, Ki, Tu Ozan, Ki, Ishki Jin. So that one's unable to speak due to neurological issues. And time to call 911 is me-p-g-o ka-nu-na-wa. So this, like I said, this is a stroke messaging campaign that myself and Jalen did. And the state just wants approval to share this. Like I said, they want to get this into the hospitals, share with the state the project that we were able to do. And so if you guys are able to go on CDC website, they have the stroke awareness messaging in Spanish.
Oh.
So I think that's something that they're kind of looking forward to, maybe having something out there in Ojibwe win. So whatever you guys want to do, if you guys are okay with it, or if you're not okay with it, whatever you guys decide, I'm totally fine with it. You know, I'm just thankful that we're able to get some money from the state for this campaign.
David, I think this is a wonderful idea. I really love to see our language anywhere. For the state to say, can we use this? I think that's a great honor to you guys for developing this. I mean, even when I went to Grand Rapids High School, I went to a hockey game or a hockey arena. It had welcome, but then it had bonjour. And it's like, oh my God, you know, when you see the language out there, it really hits you in the heart and stuff. So the more we can get the language out, and I love this. And thank you for saying the words, because sometimes I know even myself, I don't know how to speak it. And so I love how you went through that, and you know, you just have to try, you know, and then the more you say it, the more you can try, and you can try, if a friend knows the language, run it by them or whatever, but this is awesome. That's just my comment. I know other council members.
What helps me is like if I hear words or see words, I'll say them, and then when I feel comfortable, I'll use my voice or memos on my phone and then record myself.
Okay.
And just listen to it and just get me comfortable saying.
Oh, okay.
And I may have butchered some of the words. Maybe Perry could correct me if I may have said some of the things wrong, but it is also kind of tough to read our language and it's written down, but everything right there is what everything boils down to. So
yeah.
Awesome work, Squidge. You showed me this, I think, like when you and Jay were first working on it a little bit, and I was just like, you know, that's awesome. I'm obviously, it's a yes for me. So okay. Yeah.
Any other comments for Squidge or David?
Yes, I like that, you know, we're gonna pay now in. That's good that you're using the language like that and putting it all out there. Good job.
Do we have a motion to approve the use of Squidge's flyer with the Ojibwe language on it for the state?
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second, and I really loved seeing that paper there the other day, Squidge. But stuff kind of hits home because I have suffered a stroke and stuff. So seeing that in words, native writing, Ojibwe language, I felt great about it. And thank you again for your work and do here.
Okay, we have a second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Great job, David. Squidge. Squidge. Okay.
Beautiful flyer.
Yes, beautiful. No other business right now, so I do have a motion to adjourn at 10:59. Do we have that motion? Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Oh, sorry, Robert. Opposed, silent, motion carried. We wish everybody a happy holidays, and our next meeting won't be till next year. So we'll see you all next year, and Gigawabamin, happy holidays. What?
I was just gonna say, we're buying State of the Band.
Oh yeah, State of the Band is Saturday, January 18th. A Saturday, January 18th. Expect your save the dates pretty soon in the mail. So have a good day, everybody. Be quick. Speak a We're
gonna have pre-rolls.
Where's your blunt calendar? I'd like. Give me the band.